welcome to my kitchen, and I recently showed you my newfound favorite sandwich bread recipe, and I'm going to take that same basic dough and I'm going to make a cinnamon raisin swirl loaf. Perfect for breakfast, perfect for any time. So, especially during the holidays when you can make this in bulk and give it away as gifts, who's not going to love a beautifully homemade loaf of cinnamon raisin bread? I don't know anybody who would refuse that. So let's see how we're going to make this. Okay, we're going to go over the ingredients for our cinnamon raisin swirl bread, and just like the basic bread dough, it has all of those same ingredients. We've 4 cups of all-purpose flour. I like to go over the ingredients the way I put them in the bowl. So we've got 2 teaspoons of instant yeast, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of softened butter, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of instant dry milk powder. In addition, we have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and a half a teaspoon of vanilla powder. If you don't have vanilla powder, please don't worry. You can just put a teaspoon of vanilla extract in the dough. And we have a half cup each of golden and dark raisins. And then we're going to start the whole shooting match off with a cup and a half of warm water. So I'm going to clear, and we're going to come back and we're going to put all of this in the mixer, and we're going to get this dough going. Go ahead and build this dough. Now I'm going to use the same bowl that I mixed up my basic bread dough in, and I didn't wash it because I see no point. It's kind of waste.
It's bread.
It's bread. Here goes our 1.5 cups of water, warm water, and 2 teaspoons of yeast, our 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 2 tablespoons of butter, softened butter, goes in there. And then we're going to go ahead and put the flour right on in there. Pardon me.
Flour.
And then we're going to go in with the salt, the milk powder, the ground cinnamon and vanilla powder, and our raisins. This is where a lot of raisin bread recipes differ from mine, is they actually go ahead and put the raisins in the swirl part with the cinnamon and sugar, but then you end up with great big holes in your bread. And if you do it this way, the raisins get incorporated into the dough, and it's a little bit nicer when you go to slice it and have a piece of toast. So I'm going to put the hook on. Just like before, we're going to wait for it to come together, and then we're going to set the timer and we're going to knead it for 5 minutes. So let's see how long that takes. Go ahead and start my timer for 5 minutes, and then we'll be back when this is ready to set to rise. Okay, we're all done. This is ready to set to rise. We'll take the hook out.
Oh, that smells good.
It does smell good, doesn't it? The vanilla powder and the ground cinnamon. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab this out of here because, you know, I need to oil the dough. I mean the bowl. But I'm just going to give this a little bit of a turn into itself. And don't worry about the raisins. It's all fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this right down here. I'm going to spray my bowl down with my misto. There's just some vegetable oil. There's some sunflower oil in this one. Yeah, sorry. Oil smoke. Then we're going to put a bonnet on this one. We're going to wait for it to double in size, and then we'll be back when it's time to put the cinnamon swirl in the cinnamon swirl bread. We're going to go ahead and pan up our cinnamon raisin bread, but before we do that, we have to make the swirl. So I've got my pan prepared over here. I've sprayed it with a little bit of sunflower oil from my misto, but like I always do, I grab my pastry brush and I just give it a little brush all the way around so I make sure that all that oil is evenly distributed. I'm going to get this out of my way for right now. And then we're going to deflate our dough. And you want to make sure that you deflate the dough very well, because there's going to be additional air pockets in here that are caused by the raisins. The reason that I like to put the raisins in the dough portion itself is because so oftentimes when I see home cooks make cinnamon raisin bread, They put the raisins in the swirl portion, and frankly, that does not bake together, and then you end up with this bread that typically falls apart. And I know this because for a number of years, that's exactly how I made it. Until I thought, well, I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna put the raisins inside the dough itself. Because when you buy a commercially prepared loaf of cinnamon raisin bread, it does not have the raisins in the swirl part. It has the raisins in the bread itself. And that's because they put the raisins in the dough as part of the manufacturing process.
Not to mention better distribution.
Exactly. There's going to be a raisin in every bite this way instead of just raisins in the center. And when you go to toast it, it's going to fall apart. It's going to burn in certain portions and then other portions are going to be uneven. And then your butter is going to fall through and it's just going to be a big mess. So get it out of the way this way. Now I'm going to take a couple of tablespoons of softened butter and I'm just going to spread it all over my bread here. Dough. And you only need a couple of tablespoons. You don't need any more, and it doesn't need to be melted. It just needs to be soft. The only purpose this butter serves, aside from the flavor factor, is getting the sugar and cinnamon part, the swirl part, to stick inside the bread and to help it cook inside the bread. Make sure you get all that butter off there because you don't want to throw that down the drain. All right. Get that out of the way. Now, I have prepared cinnamon sugar. However, you can just use 1/4 of a cup of sugar and a tablespoon of ground cinnamon, and it's all going to be good. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle this. I always like to have prepared cinnamon sugar, and to be honest with you, again, I got this because I love the tin, and I'll just make some and refill this when it's, when it's been emptied. But it's nice to have on hand for when my kids want to make cinnamon toast in the morning or what have you. I'm just going to turn my placemat this way, and I'm going to tightly roll this loaf all the way up like this, and I'm going to bring it together and I'm going to pinch it. Let's do this. And then I'm going to do like I did before. I'm going to poke it. I'm going to pull up the bottom, which is the top, and I'm going to pinch it together. And again, I'll turn it so you can see. I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to pull up the bottom, which is the top, and I'm going to pinch it together. And this loaf looks much too long for my bread pan.
Mush it.
I don't know that I want to mush it, but we can try.
You'll be fine.
We shall see. The trick here is that you have put the butter, you've put the cinnamon swirl in there, and it's going to literally bake right into that dough. And you can see what I'm doing here is I'm kind of tamping it down on the sides and giving it a little bit of an idea of how it's supposed to rise. Okay? So, press it down, and it will hold that memory. Okay, I'm gonna spray this, put a bonnet on it, and again, 30 to 45 minutes. Also, this recipe will make 2 mini loaves if you have half-size loaf pans and you want to give these to people for gifts. Easily made into 2 half-size loaves, and then you get 2 homemade gifts out of 1 effort. So I'm going to put this on my stove, which is, the oven is preheating to 350 degrees. We'll be back in 30 to 45 minutes, and we'll show you what it looks like before it goes in the oven. Okay, our bread is ready to put in the oven, so I'm going to gently remove the bonnet. And I have also prepared if you're watching the raisin bread and haven't seen the basic loaf, or vice versa, there's a video for each one of these separately, but these are both going in the oven at the same time. So, these have risen and they have crowned beautifully, and I'm going to pop these in the oven, just like so. And they will bake for 25 to 35 minutes, and when they're ready to come out, we'll come back and show you what they look like. Okay, the bread is ready to come out of the oven. Here is our sandwich bread.
Gorgeous.
And here is our raisin bread.
Beautiful.
Cinnamon swirl. They came out gorgeous. Okay, so then these are going to need to cool. And the way I like to just pan these, I do like to take them out shortly after they come out of the oven, if not immediately. Tap it, you know it's ready. It's perfect. Let's see if that works. Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
You're stuck on the edge.
Yeah, it was stuck on the edge. But you see, and that's done. Beautiful. Alright, let me grab a stick of butter, because I like to put butter on the top of those. Okay. Got all squared away and situated. I put a parchment-lined baking sheet underneath my cooling rack, which I like to do very often, to catch any crumbs or whatever. Plus, I'm going to be putting some butter on the top here, and this is perfectly a personal preference, but it does help the top crust to remain soft and supple. It's very easy to slice. And you have the option with this raisin bread. I don't think I'm going to do it today, but if you were going to give this as a gift, you allow this to cool completely and put a nice icing glaze on it. And I have a recipe for that. I have a video on how to make a simple icing glaze. And then I would just totally drizzle that across the top. And then use a couple of candied cherries, maybe cut in half along the top, to make it look really pretty for the holidays. It would be really festive and a lovely thing to give to teachers or postmen or whoever it is that you have in your life that you like to give a little extra thank you to during the holiday season. So I'm going to let these cool for just a little while. Alright, here's our cinnamon raisin loaf. It's cooled sufficiently, and I'm going to go ahead and slice into it so you can see what it looks like on the inside. When you slice bread, make sure that you use a serrated knife, and make sure that you use a gentle hand and let the weight of the knife guide you. Now, there you have it. I'm going to take another slice out of here, see if you can see the swirl. Sometimes when you roll it like I did and tuck in the ends, oh yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's in there.
It's in there. Cinnamon swirl. It's in there. See, look at that. That's beautiful. And like I said, I try to like to avoid this, but sometimes it's unavoidable and it's not going to be any less delicious.
Sometimes you can't.
Sometimes you can't avoid it. That's right. So that is how you make an amazing loaf of cinnamon swirl bread with raisins in it. I hope you try it. I hope you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya.